We learned there from the First Minister about this train derailment just west of Stonehaven in Aberdeenshire. Adele Robinson is in our newsroom and has been keeping track. What more did we learn in the last few minutes from the First Minister that we didn't know, Adele?
Well, she mentioned significant travel disruption at the very beginning of that meeting, and she obviously mentioned the West Stonehaven train derailment. She said that, well, she described it as a major incident and said that there are early reports of serious injuries. She did point out that details are still emerging and that her thoughts are with all involved. We've also just heard within the last few minutes from the Scottish Ambulance Service. A spokesman has said that they currently have multiple resources in attendance at a train derailment near Stonehaven, including 6 ambulances, our special operations response teams, air ambulance, patient transport vehicles and the ScotStar emergency services.
A former chief of army says military brass and politicians must accept their share of responsibility if Australian troops are found responsible for war crimes in Afghanistan. Retired Lieutenant General Peter Lay has told 9 News our forces were ordered into the country without adequate preparation.
Afghanistan was Australia's longest war, and for much of it the elite Special Air Service Regiment was on the front line. But the regiment's heroism has been tarnished by accusations from within its own ranks of misconduct and war crimes.
I think it's fair to say, in some cases, straight murder.
New South Wales Judge Major General Paul Brereton is nearing the end of a 4-year investigation into at least 55 incidents. Current and former soldiers have been notified that they might be adversely affected.
You mentioned this happened literally minutes ago. The community has gathered here, but where the action is down there. That's where search and rescue teams are busy. They've been scouring this area since particularly the discovery of the 4th body just a few hundred meters away from where we are now. Now we're learning of that 5th body that has been found in the bush there. As you can imagine, details are still very sketchy, but from what we've been able to gather, it is a female, and sources here are telling us that she also had been stripped of her clothes. So the first of these discoveries was made in April. That was after 2 sisters had gone missing in March. The second discovery was made in July, about a week after the second, or the third victim had gone missing. And this last victim, which was found yesterday, she'd gone missing about a month before.
Being a journalist in Tanzania is becoming increasingly difficult. New changes to the media law forces local media organizations to get government approval before publishing or broadcasting material from international broadcasters. The legislation also compels foreign journalists to be accompanied by government minders while out reporting. The clampdown comes 3 months before the general election. Opposition leaders are already complaining that they're getting unfair media coverage in the run-up to October's election. They accuse President John Magufuli's government of introducing policies meant to stifle media and political freedoms. The regulations also come during the coronavirus pandemic. Government guidelines make it impossible for journalists to report on the disease.
President Donald Trump is considering temporarily blocking the re-entry of American citizens if they are suspected of being COVID-19 positive. The Trump administration is likely to enforce new immigration rules. Under the proposal, government could block a citizen or a legal resident's entry into the U.S. if an official reasonably believes that the person had been exposed to or was infected with coronavirus. In the last few months, Trump has imposed sweeping rules that ban the entry of foreigners into the United States, citing the risk of allowing the virus to spread from hotspots abroad. However, those rules have exempted two categories of people trying to return: the American citizens and foreigners who have already established legal residence. The proposal relies on existing legal authorities of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Gel gülümser gel.
In a statement, the chairperson of the AU Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, is asking the government of Zimbabwe to allow for freedom of the media, freedom of assembly and the right to information for its citizens. He says the government, in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, should ensure that the national response is tagged to respect for human rights. The AU Commission, which has been less vocal recently on the political situation in Zimbabwe, demands that a high level of restraint by security forces is observed in the country in response to peaceful protests. In its just concluded virtual sessions, the African Commission on People and Human Rights discussed the political tension in Zimbabwe. It says there is no basis for arbitrary deprivation of liberty, of life, and also inhumane treatment or torture of citizens.
Just a day after Seattle City Council approved a reduction in the budget of the city's police department, Seattle Police Chief Carmen Bess, the city's first black police head, publicly announced her resignation Tuesday, effective September 2nd. This comes on the heels of the city's police department in June struggling on what to do about a protest zone set up near downtown Seattle that became the scene of several shootings and a war of words between city leaders and President Donald Trump. By a vote of 7-1 Monday, the City Council approved a revised 2020 budget that reduced the police department's budget by $3.5 million, less than 1% of the department's $409 million.
Argentina's Coast Guards escort a Chinese fishing ship
towards a port in Patagonia. It's an operation by air and sea to control attempts by foreign vessels to fish illegally in Argentine waters.
One shine 801. Stop and shine, sir. Stop and shine.
International ships are allowed to fish outside the economic exclusive zone. But in recent years, there's been a sharp increase in attempts to cross what is known as the Mile 200, where Argentine waters begin.
Our sea platform is one of the richest in the world. So far this year, we have captured 2 ships already. We have a protocol, so the captain can act according to international law.
Using radars and other types of communication, Argentina can track ships violating its exclusive zone.